Sure, all your mics are on, I guess. Okay, call this meeting to order. This is the Whitewater Township Planning Commission's Residents Outreach Subcommittee, ROS. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, so this is basically just all on making sure. What's that? Yes, with it. Sorry.
And just Rachel. Anybody recall? I keep marking her as absent.
I never knew she was a member of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
never thought she was.
Okay. Boone. McElway.
Here.
Peltonen. Here. DeYoung.
Here.
Wiskowski. Stratton. Melman. I just put you here. Thank you.
All right, so this meeting will be just to discuss the open house that we're going to have and kind of nailing down all the little details we need to have before we get to it. I'm going to take what Barry has listed here, and I'm going to add things like who's going to be at what table, and anything else that we add here.
Right up here.
Right up there.
Come on up.
Oh,
Yeah, front and center.
Hi.
Green. Okay. Okay. You just make sure your microphone's on there and it stays on. Good.
Yes.
I think there was some confusion in the last township meeting that we hadn't listed names of who was going to be at what table yet, and things like that. So I'm going to try to do a document with all that in it. And try to.
I was at the last meeting, and I saw I think the flyer was attached to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And.
Okay, good. We kind of like to have an open meeting, so nobody has any issues with that. Just continue on doing it that way. Guess we'll go ahead and let Randy start off.
Okay. Well, most of the just not forget that the schedule second days for the workshop and way the meetings all it's difficult to get that in. So
Let's go ahead and set that now.
probably somewhere along
November.
the planning commission meeting will be the first Wednesday.
The first.
So maybe the following week, the 6th. Would be it.
So for a Monday? Or are you talking about that week?
I'm talking about sometime there.
Oh, okay.
What date we chose and
They joined the meeting.
everything's the night,
That was
the night, the Thursday.
is it that Friday? Right?
I had the 8th too.
Okay, well, this is from a meeting, I just put in there, but that's a speaking meeting in August or September, which one?
I think when I put it in here, it was a tentative, so I don't know if they changed it.
Yeah, I thought they had two tentative meeting dates, for some reason.
Yeah,
But
it's in the board packet, if you know, access to that.
So the 11th, I think, is a Saturday, it's Veterans Day.
okay.
We're thinking about having this after the joint board meeting, right? Correct?
after?
Well, after the plan.
Can we go back to the process if we're having one on September 28th? How much time we need between that one and the next one? The reason I'm a little worried about November because there's a state benefits day in there, and people already have said that they're going to be going, they go on like off for a week to hunt. And
Yep.
yeah,
Probably not 13th or later. But we don't know.
Well, I know that was why you guys chose the date that you did that first week of November.
Right.
That's because of the hunting and for the joint meeting.
So Tuesday, November 7th is election day.
Correct. There's no election here at the
Okay.
township,
It's not.
so that's not an issue.
And were we planning on having that again at the school, the second one, or are we gonna have it? Where were we planning on having that?
We didn't really discuss that. It would make sense. to
Okay.
have it at school again.
Yeah, now that I've been seeing cafeteria. Wow.
Okay. So it was on a Thursday.
Yeah, we have no election here.
So that would be the fair thing that you get it on Saturday.
So the 7th or the 9th? 9th is a Thursday. It's the same day we're having the September one. Do we want to have a different day so that if people that couldn't make it on Thursdays could make it on Tuesdays? Well, is an election day too chaotic for people to have that also?
If there's no voting. for-
Okay.
Right, so
Well,
The people that live in Whitewater Township that would vote in Elk Rapids. That's a voting distinction.
Well, I mean, there may be people who have property in both spots,
Yeah, that's.
but maybe they want to schedule their voting.
so do we want to put then a tentative of the 7th with the 9th as a backup? Do we want to try that? Denise, you think you could talk to them? See if it would be available?
what are the 2 dates?
The 7th of November and then the 9th.
Don't know how the decision making or not. So the next event, I was gonna talk about this just a little bit. Is going to be more about goal setting. So you're gonna kind of do vision and goals at that point. Because that's what we really want to get parsed down for to be able to put master plan. So it's not gonna be open house style. It's gonna be, you're gonna come, you're gonna get a presentation from me that's gonna go through what you saw from your survey, got from the open house, going over that information, what we gleaned from it. And then I'm going to suggest some goals that we'll talk about between this open house and then. I'm not just gonna make them up myself, but I will probably make some of them up myself. That way. And then the idea behind that is to do breakout groups in each like tables. We're gonna have like groups of people depending on how many are coming or how many are anticipated. Where they're gonna be able to sit with the moderator, one of us, or the staff, somebody to kind of help guide that conversation about different questions we're gonna ask about those goals up on the screen. So it's gonna be more of a walkthrough, take like 2 hours, probably hour and a half to 2 hours to go through the exercise. So it's not gonna be show up at any time between.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna be like
Okay,
that.
be a specific time.
It'll be a little more structured. Yeah.
Okay.
How many participants you want in each section? Is it it's gonna be 6 groups of people, or is there gonna be one group over covering 6 copies?
We may, you know, for something like this, we may have a better idea how many people are gonna show up based on how many people show up to this. Keeping groups to like 12 to 15 people max is preferred. It's kind of like, you know, when you're in school, but the more teacher, or the better the teacher to student ratio, right? The more one-on-one time people get a better instruction. So we don't want to get it too overwhelming when we've got like 60 people working with one moderator. That's not gonna work, but something a little more pared down.
So, one group. 12 to 15 people, not 6 groups covering each topic. Infrastructure, development, zoning.
Well, it's not been designed.
Yeah, let's not get into that yet. Let's just get into the dates and see
I
if we
just
can
want
get
to
in
put
the
out,
schools.
you know, time wise, this is structured in about 2 hours. It might be easier to do it evening because more people are probably available as opposed to 2 in the afternoon.
Right. But can you see if we can nail down one of those dates from the school?
The 7th of November and the 9th of November.
Or 7th or 8th or 9th, yes.
Evening meeting 7 to 9.
7 to 9?
Or 6 to 8.
And cafeteria again.
Yes.
If they available.
Well, they have tables that we could use to put people on these conversations, or do we have to?
I thought when we talked about it last, that they had tables and chairs available.
So the tables and chairs, when I was there, they had those cafeteria style, where they have built-in benches on them. Ideally, if we had round tables preferred, but I don't, beyond what I saw in the cafeteria.
We asked them if they have any round tables.
Or even if they had rectangular tables, you know, take 2 of them, push them together,
Yeah.
just with seats around them or something.
We can try to have that nailed down on a date before our next PC meeting. All right.
Just a couple of things, there we go. Is,
I'm sorry, when you say before your next PC meeting, that'll be before
yes.
November, this.
The next, will be October 1st and then October whatever, and then November. So that'll be 2 pieces. Before we,
Well, so we could, for this meeting, if we picked a date before the 28th, when we have this first open house, then we could advertise that open house. So
Yeah.
next meeting date, right back here. Well, come to the next one, the gold setting.
Okay, well,
You want me to
you,
just step up?
if you could, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And then we can get with Rachel and just float that past her, and if she wants to set up a special meeting to get that done.
people that are like,
Well,
Yeah.
we could even put it on a campaign or something as they walk out, join us
Right.
on this date, time right back here.
Then maybe a special meeting for that. Okay.
one thing to be, I think, running into some confusion about what the existing 2015 master plan on the website. That was the last document. This document will replace. In April, working with the planning commission, we produced the document like this, that's downloadable. This is what I was working on in the months of late last year, early this year. And that includes some of the maps that you have in front of you. The thinking is that some of that material can be background information at the meeting, and then we can have copies of this available for people that you know, there's a pretty good description of Whitewater Township. So that's out there as well. Our new document will be expansion of this into the citizen engagement process that we're going through, as well as what the work that planning commission will be to actually formulate, finalize goals, strategies, implementation steps, all that. So there's a couple documents from that, and it's all clear on what's there and what the purposes are.
Does it, large capital letters, does it say draft? Let me see. I can tell that up real quick. And where is that on the planning commission page? It does say master plan draft. Maybe I could change that to put in 2023 draft.
That would be,
Okay.
that would be maybe that.
And then the other one already says 2015.
Yes. So that's where.
Okay. I'll do that. Yeah. Under the zoning. It's under the planning and zoning. And then the planning commission is a separate thing under there, and that's where it's at.
Okay, great. We want to nail down one of them then?
When the plan was for the joint.
Yeah, because we have,
It was just 200-page packet, so I'm just taking some time trying to scroll through it.
I can send a message here so I get it.
Trying to even remember where it was in the meeting.
I think it'd be nice to have it, to try for the 7th, that way it would be, actually completed before the joint meeting, and maybe we could share a little bit of information with them at the time. What do you think?
But those two bodies, DC and board, are gonna impact what the plan.
Right.
is. They're doing at that time.
No, you're right. Okay, so the 7th, everybody agreed on? Let's try to make that one this.
They- DC.
I think it's gonna be the 8th or the 9th, so we'll find out, but.
Because you have to be at the.
I had listed the 8th. But that was, I think, at our, when it was still tentative, so. All right, well, let's, plan on the 7th, unless for some reason we hear different about, joint meeting. Sounds good? Okay. Put that toward the PC. I think we were talking either 7 to 9 or 6 to 8.
Can we decide? And then, I can check that because I asked 7 to 9, 6 to 8, there's some type of, activity and he's already been able.
Well, if you ask for 7 to 9, let's just do 7 to 9. Bring that to PC, their next meeting. All right,
Taxes? No, I was gonna ask a zoning question. He's not here. Maybe.
you have anything else, Randy? Barry? What you got for us?
Okay, well, let's start with a couple of housekeeping items before we look at all these maps and everything.
Okay.
So I just sent you this.
Okay.
Format.
Thank you.
I've already kind of started retyping the memo in a draft form of my own. It's, really for my own reference, but I can share it out when I'm done. What I'm trying to do is right now, get together questions and everything for some of the boards. But before we get into that, we will get into that. I just made a real quick sketch of the cafeteria layout based on what I observed. It's not scientific or to scale. But I kind of tried to estimate like table sizes and everything. There's like an entrance and exit way and coming in and out of the main building. And the arrows are kind of just indicating the flow around the room. Now, we can encourage people to kind of go in that order. I wanted to start with a review of 2014, but it's the 2021 actually. The 2015 master plan. I thought that's a good place to kind of start. People probably aren't aware of what's in it. So we're gonna have them go there, and that was the one where we're gonna have the goals and things that are in that plan just listed off on some sheets that will be hung up. And I want to use sticky dots in that one where we go, what's relevant, what isn't relevant, what has been completed, so that we can get kind of an idea as to what people still think is going on that's good, what should we keep our focus on, maybe what can we take our focus off as much, and that maybe there's some things got done, which is good. Or it may be just there's not interest.
So just since you brought that up, I just want to clarify. So how are we collecting data at the tables now?
So it's probably going to be a little bit different for each one. So this one more or less is just sticky dots. And at the end of it, I'm going to just take pictures, I take pictures of all these. That's another key thing. Before we tear anything down at the end of the night, everybody leaves. Don't take anything down. So I've gone around taking pictures of everything to document it. So that was kind of the idea for that station.
For the review of the 2015 station?
The review of the 2015.
Where's opportunities for people to suggest? Take other. Well, right.
15.
Yeah, but it's,
Yes, no,
that's
full extend this, or-
Yeah, and at all of these stations, yes, thank you for that. I want to have the chance for people to provide additional feedback. There's kind of two ways I see that going. One is we'll have a blank paper for general comments. You can write on a Post-it note, basically stick it up there. And the reason I give them a Post-it note is I don't want a whole novel. I just want people to keep their comments concise to the point. So that's one way to collect it, but since we'll have enough people to go at each station, you can also be standing there as a staff volunteer with your own pad of paper. If somebody just wants to tell you or elaborate on something, write it down. That's the whole reason why we're not there. So there's two different ways that you provide that feedback that goes beyond just putting sticky dots up if you want to add that. And I would expect that each station, since we're going to have somebody, that they'd have a pad of paper and a pen or pencil, as well as a comment board that's just kind of empty, like general comments here about this topic. And they can put sticky notes up if they want to. And the reason I think probably doing both is nice, some people really want their opinion heard. They want to put it up there and know that people are seeing it, that it might get built off of. Other people, what I've seen happen before, some sticky note up, and other people come by and just write, yeah, and they'll stick it right on that note or right next to it or something. And then all of a sudden you got like 5 notes that say yes or no, next to it. You can kind of, it makes it easier. So that we group those concepts together. Another thing that could happen, if you're standing there taking the note, you realize like, wow, 5 people said the same thing to me.
Yeah.
You could write on a sticky note that comment and just stick it up there, and then other people can come by and go, yes, no, I like it, I don't like it, That's another way to do it, because at the end of this, where this is all going, the reason I kind of talk about this, right now is I want to group ideas together. Like when this is done, I'm gonna take all these pictures and all the notes, go back to my desk and kind of go, where are the common themes? What am I seeing pop up over and over? And I get 30 people said yes to this and 20 people said no to this. I want to start lumping those things together so that when we go do our goals and objectives, we're going to talk about that in that presentation. I'm going to say, here's common themes that came up and how often it came up, or here's things people said. So interesting. You maybe can let this go here. So that we're not focusing on this. That's kind of the idea behind that.
So we're talking about maybe for each one of these tables are going to be collecting data a little different.
Could be a little bit
Okay.
different at each one. Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is I'd like to kind of have a sheet for each person at the table, then how they're collecting data, what they're trying to collect, so they have an idea of how this is going to work. So I'm going to try to take notes as we go along, unless you already have that written down somewhere.
No, I don't have that now
Yeah.
somewhere. That's what I'm starting to develop right
Okay.
here.
Right.
Actually, it's a work in progress because I was, since we last met, a lot of time was spent trying to get GIS data and permissions and getting all the mapping done. So I've also been kind of working on this off to the side, but now that I've got all the mapping stuff completed, this is sort of the next thing I'm starting to do.
Okay.
I want to keep it as simple as
Right.
possible for each station.
Can you give us the, out of all the stations, what are the types of ways we're going to be collecting information? Obviously, the sticky notes for additional comments. We talked about the sticky dots for the review of the master plan. I'm still not sure in my head how they're going to collect that data in the sticky dots yet, but maybe you can explain that. What other ways in those tables will we be using to collect data?
Okay, well, so I want to go through each station.
Okay, all right.
So to answer your question about the sticky dots with the master plan, 2015 review, what you have is you have a large piece of paper, each of the goals written out, blank space in them.
From the 15.
From the 15 plan.
Okay.
So someone can literally take a dot, red or green, yes, no. We could do yellow too. if
Okay.
we want.
So either still important or not so important anymore.
Yeah, and they just stick a dot right underneath.
Okay.
And so you might see a line of like 20 dots, and 18 of them are green and 2 are red. Well, that means we know generally most people voting on that still were supporting that particular initiative.
Okay.
It's just going to be those goals written out. It might take 2 pages to do, but I want to leave enough room that we can get all the dots in there when we want, so we can count them as they go. And the reason for that is part of the reason I do the sticky dots on some of this stuff is it's an interactive thing. It's just to keep people engaged instead of just coming in. Yes, they can talk as much as they want, write their comments down every day, that's fine, but part of that is just keeping them active and doing something as they go from station to station. Just
Okay.
Couple of points on the master plan goals. So if you review the 2015 goals, they're really general statements. They're not really well crafted goals in my mind. They're just statements about preserving property value. It's hopefully we'll, at the end of this, we'll get
More
goals
specific.
and more developed and more easily defined and measurable and specific and all that other stuff. So, and then the other point was when Barry's done with his work, we're going to get a report that was produced as a summary of all the public input that came from these 2 sessions. So there'll be a document that will be put together independently that describes the outcome of this whole citizen engagement process. So
Will we get one from the first one and then from the second? Or will we
just call for
one at the end? Okay.
So essentially, a big chunk of what that report would be is actually going to be the presentation for the second meeting, because the presentation for the second meeting, the idea is to summarize what we found from the open house and also taking into consideration the survey that was already completed.
Right. So that becomes the foundation for the new data.
And the hope is out of that second session, we have it pared down into 3 You know, I don't, I find it kind of ineffective when you come up, for a community, you come up with like, well, we got 50 goals, okay. Well, 50 goals to pull off might not sound like a lot in 5 years, it's a lot. So we try to get that pared down to just what are the main topic areas, and are there a few objectives under those goals that you reasonably could check off, you know, between now and maybe the next time we visit the plan. That's where we're trying to get to after at the second session. So this session is all about input collection, just like we did with the survey. This is just another opportunity for that. Next session is digesting all that, presenting it, saying this is what out from the survey and the open house. Susan, here's some thoughts about goals and objectives, and we're going to talk about a little more individually in groups and pose some more questions for that to get a little more detail.
Okay.
An upside down pier.
So if someone says to me, I fill out a survey, why would I need to come to this workshop? What would I tell them?
Well, they can come and still, there might be some things in these stations that weren't in the survey. So the way I look at it is the survey, if I do that upside down pyramid I just mentioned, the survey is like the broadest, trying to collect as much as we can. This pares it down a little bit more because these stations, if you remember, we developed as a group here, these stations based on the feedback from that survey. So now it's been pared down just a little bit more. There's certain things we're kind of intentionally not focusing on as much because they didn't really rise to the top. And there's some other things we are. And then the next session is taking this and pulling it down just a little bit more and saying, okay, we think we've got some more ideas about what people want. We did a survey, we did an open house. Now we're going to do goal setting. That's the tip. As that upside down pyramid gets smaller. You know, so really what we're trying to do in planning, we start broad. We're trying to rein it in a little bit, get something more cheap and more specific.
So the first table, you're going to be talking about what's next in the process, and I think like what you were just, isn't it right? Isn't that part of the welcome table?
Well, so what I was sorry, maybe I should have started with the welcome.
Right.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do
Well, so because I thought the way that you described the process would be super helpful to have something like that at that welcome table. Because I would ask exactly the same question, you know, how does the survey come into this, you know, and that whole inverted pyramid, I think would be a great visual.
I can make it an inverted pyramid, that's not a problem. So let's back up then to the welcome table. Because some of the things we talked about, I just gave you a copy of that memo that from the last time, just so you this is a summary sort of what we were talking about last time. So for that welcome table, what I can add is kind of explaining, we asked to explain what the master plan process is and what it does, why are we doing this? So that can kind of be part of that. Some kind of explain that says, what is a master plan? Why are we doing it? Here's how the public input's being collected and why we're doing it this way. So that maybe it's easier that way just to have 3 panels back there. You've got to point to and go, this is what a master plan is. This is why we're doing it. Here's the public input process. Here's where we're at. We're at this stage of the upside down pyramid. Next stage of the meeting on the 7th, November 7th will be
9th or 7th.
7th.
Oh, you did, okay, and this November 9th is the joint meeting at 7 p.m.
Yep.
So I did confirm that.
So that, yeah, kind of pare it down a little bit. That's one of the big things we wanted to answer at that table was, why am I here? What am I doing? What is this? There's also a sign-in sheet we wanted to have. We said collect like an optional email. We didn't want to make it mandatory, but simply explain this is just to share information about the master plan update process. This is not a solicitation to just start getting advertisements and everything else under the sun from the township. It's just for the master plan. And asking them if they might be interested in participating also at that focus group on the 7th. Now that we have a date, do you want to get into the goal setting.
Did you want that at the welcome table? That's our,
It
is there gonna
may-
be a checkout table?
It makes sense to ask that on the way out. That's why I put the welcome table where I did. You could
Yeah.
literally catch people coming in on one side, and as they go out, hey, this is the next step. We've got coming up on November 7th, there's gonna be a goal setting session right back here in this room. Is it something you'd be interested in participating in? And it's important to ask that because we're gonna wanna get an estimate for roughly how many people we think might be coming back to that meeting, because it's not an RS. It's open to the public, so people can come. But we do want to kind of follow.
Yes, and the welcome table will, Rachel will be there. She'll be the welcoming people in, and she want to have, all this information to share with them.
Rachel's at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got spots for everybody. Okay. One of the other important things to ask, so, sorry, let me make a note here real quick.
Now, there,
Oh, sorry.
will there be any, at the welcome table, we won't be really taking out any information, right? We'll be just giving information.
Unless they want to provide their name and email.
Okay, all right.
We'll take that down. Sign in sheet that you write down. It'll look like an Excel sheet, but.
Okay.
Remember the fact that if we plan on the next one being November 7th, it isn't approved by the TC until the meeting, and we advertise it at this event.
We did discuss that. It must have been when you were out with,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's fine. And we'll probably set another, PC meeting just before that to try to prove that. I just asked that for Rachel, so,
I'm sorry. I didn't.
yeah, I'm sorry.
I had another idea for the welcome table on the way out, and I'm gonna bring that up at walk through these other.
Okay.
So we kind of talked about the review, the 2015 master plan goals, we move around the room. And just as a general comment, I put in the middle a writing table. Some people can't write and stick to things like that.
Right.
We may want to go just sit down, or they may, the other reason I have the writing table too, this is something I'm hoping that township would be able to provide. We could get at least one, if not two copies of the current master plan and the draft that's being devised right now, just to set out at that table. So if someone goes, I haven't seen the master plan, what's in it? You go, there's some copies of it right here. If you'd like to sit down and poke through it, they can go over there and see what's in there. And what's been done to date so far on the draft.
Good idea.
Shared. And no one may ask, but I find that it's better to have it there than not, and somebody goes, what is that? And I usually just leave those sitting out on the writing table.
Good.
Go.
So on the welcome table, then we're talking Rachel being there. There'll be a sign-in sheet for people that want to sign in and give their names and information. Description of the process, and then we'll have other information there, or will that be just? I know we talked about stuff about
So is that
information
like-
on roads and,
Yeah, I think probably the easiest to hand out the dots at each station.
I agree
as
that,
opposed
yeah.
to the welcome table,
Yeah.
because some people may get to a station, they may not even want the dots, they may go, wow, this I'm just ready to comment and leave.
Mhm.
Well, now you're not handing out tons of dots to people that may not even think about. But if somebody's standing in the station, someone says, I'd like, a certain number of dots. Now, that's another question. Do you want to limit the number of dots at any given station? I think for the review of the 2015 plan, I probably don't need to for that one. If they want to put 50 dots up, they can. The only thing is I just don't want the same person voting for the same thing like 10 times, you know? So it's like if they vote for it, it's up, okay, yeah, you voted for that, what else, you know, like. I just don't want that happen.
Well, we've done that in the past. I've done that in the past, and when we've used sticky dots, we've numbered them. So like if you want 10 dots, I give you 10 dots, but it's numbered. So the first person that comes in, is number one. For second person that comes in is number two. Third person is number three. So when you hand them those dots, you write that number on the dots that you give them. So he could put, or she could put 10 dots up there, but later you're going to be able to see, well, those 10 dots are all the same person.
I like the idea. I don't have pre-numbered dots, and I'm definitely not gonna write numbers on a lot of dots before this. So it might be easier just to have someone who's standing there, at least monitor it the best they can, and just say, well, put a dot there already, maybe. Some might slip through.
One vote per topic.
Yeah. One vote. Person, one vote.
One vote per topic.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying, the question on the dots is, if I put 10 dots, is the map size big enough to accommodate 10 dots? And then the next guy puts 10 dots, all of a sudden you've got, 100 dots spread over this big area. How reflective is, or am I going to cover up my own dots, or someone else going to cover up my own dots?
Yeah, that can end up, well, when we get to the part talking about maps where people are gonna hang sticky dots, that can end up being a little bit more of an issue, for sure. There's not a real good way around it. Sometimes they're gonna get covered. But when we talk about maps, we talk about clusters and things like that. But at this station, there's no map. This is just voting on statements from the 2015 plan.
And that could be something that the person at the table can kind of try to monitor too.
That's why it's, yes, when we decided early on that we're gonna have a person, I've worked in communities where there's maps. But when you decided we're gonna put someone at every station, believe me, I was singing rejoice internally, because I'm like, good, this helps a lot, because now we've got someone that can stand there and make sure people are only voting once for certain things, not loading it up, and you can monitor how many dots they're getting. Much easier when you have a human standing there to do that.
Maybe too, when somebody is actually going up to put the dots on, instead of just handing them 5 dots or whatever, handing one each time. Like, okay, I want one for here. You give them one and they put it there, and then where if you just hand them 10 dots, they might just stick them wherever. It's a little bit more work, but I think you get a better.
I'd say that's kind of at the discretion of the person there. If they start getting overwhelmed because there's 5 people at the same time looking there, they may want to rip off more than one and just say, take 5, take 5.
Right.
If there's one person there, here you go, here you go, here you go, or 2 people, it's not it depends what the volume of traffic is at that time. Like I said, it's not a perfect system. You are gonna have flaws in some of the voting. Someone's gonna get away with voting for something 2 or 3 times. It's probably gonna happen. That's why I think we just monitor it the best we can with the person at that station to try to keep an eye on things. But you gotta remember, the person that's at that station is not only keeping an eye on that, they might also be talking to someone about something that's on that board or what they're supposed to be doing.
Because maybe at each station, there's some instructions for the person.
That's what I want to create now, and that's why I'm asking these questions.
Know that one other person, somebody else comes in.
So also, did we have an hour before, like, to go into the middle school?
Yeah.
Wait an hour, isn't it? So, what would be nice after I get there and kind of set stuff up, that takes about 20 minutes. If the volunteers are able to come early, 20 to 30 minutes early, I can also, with the instructions, go through each station with people and go, okay, this is what you're looking out for. Give them the instructions too, but kind of walk them through it as if somebody was coming through the station.
I would like to have written instructions for them way prior to.
Some of them,
Right.
And the other thing is, we didn't want people in the school for, so I don't know if the volunteers, I'll confirm if they can be let in, if they look about 6 or 7 people to set up. And that would include the conversation that you have with them. So I'll check on that again.
Yeah, I think predominantly just to get things posted on between myself, Charlie, and maybe Randy, we probably do that things stuck up, chairs, push them over. If the volunteers want to show up a little bit closer to 4, like 3:40, 3:45, that might give me enough time to kind of go. Give it a little bit of like an orientation, like how the station is going to work and how to do it. You can still have written instructions, that's fine, but sometimes people have questions or it's not clear what's written on the instructions. I want to give everyone a chance to kind of see the room real quick before it starts getting there, so we kind of get how it's going to go. So I'm going to go on to zoning and land use, if that's all right.
Okay, so just to recap for the master plan goals review, it's just sticky notes or sticky dots for goals, whether they're still relative or not to that person, and then sticky notes for any additional comments. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not me, just the table. Exhibit, it's just an exhibit, no person there.
That's me.
It's me.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
You're taking that one?
And all the tables should have at least one person.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna try to have 2 or so somebody got breaks if they need it.
So then the next station with the zoning and land use and the both, when we put PET on there, preserve, enhance, and transform. That's kind of that PET, preserve, enhance, and transform was going to be the basis for sort of the sticky dot system I wanted to use there. So there will be probably a few maps at the station. So the first map would be a zoning. Well, we may just have an air photo actually. The first map may just be on air photos. But we're gonna have an air photo, a zoning map. And we may have like the zoomed in version of each of these maps. You'll notice some of these, for example, we made the whole township. And then we made maps that were zoomed in on Williamsburg. Because when you zoom in on Williamsburg, it's a lot harder to be able to see everything on this large scale. Even when this is printed, by the way, I found out the size is 30 by 40, so they're bigger than I thought.
Great.
For the maps, I thought that we were doing that nice, but they're going to be a little bigger.
Great.
It's good. So you're going to have a big 30 by 40 of this and a big 30 by 40 of the zoomed in one at Williamsburg. And this would be one where we're going to ask that question about what features and things would you like to preserve, transform, or enhance. And you may have like a green, yellow, red, like a transform might be red, and enhance would be yellow, and then preserve green, kind of like a stoplight. Yes.
So is this one going to be there too then?
So that is going to also, yeah, that's going to be at that station too.
Okay.
So there's going to be, this is going to be a map. And the reason for it is we want people to start putting dots in different locations as far as like, one of the questions I think we were asking was going to be about like, where would you Well, let me back up. I'm gonna get to the solar and everything, get that myself. So one of the questions, those maps that you just saw, the scenic and iconic area maps, which are fairly blank. But they have, I mean, they're left a little more open, so they're not so cluttered. They do have some landmarks on them, like the trails down on the bottom, just to show where those are at roughly. And then there's also some of the parks have been labeled, as well as some of the public facilities like the school will be in, Township Hall here at EMS. And the idea is I want to give people some general idea of where they're at, and what they're looking at. Because not all the road names are gonna be the zoomed out one. There's more road names once you zoom in, like to Williamsburg. And the idea behind this is, we want to kind of ask people what they would like to preserve, enhance, and transform, and where you see them start putting their sticky dots. This is where we might see clusters start to form on these maps. You may get people going like, preserve the scenic view of the lake right here, and you might start seeing a bunch of dots showing up there. Well, once we start, if we start seeing clusters, the idea for the person standing at this table, they may want to, if they don't know what's there, they may want to ask the person put the dot up, oh, what is there? And on the comments section off to the side, blank piece of paper, we could start going, well, we'll see a cluster, circle it, give it the number 1. Over here, 1 is this lake or creek or something. Because you're starting to see a bunch of cluster dots showing in those areas. You don't have to do that. They can have one up, maybe only one person put a dot somewhere, like something. That's fine. They can do that.
For this station, you guys are gonna operate, right?
Yeah.
I think, yes.
I think I put consent.
I'm pretty sure you did.
We did it all. All right.
No problem.
So that's kind of one exercise for that table.
I'm sorry, so you did confirm that? That you guys are doing that table? I'm pretty sure that's what I remembered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured I put myself here because of how complicated.
Yes, that's what I.
This has the most going on. A lot of it.
Okay.
So that's kind of one thing we're gonna look at, and that's where we're looking for those scenic and iconic areas.
Might be a good idea for that scenic area, because didn't you mention last time that that scenic overlook that people had mentioned is not even in our township?
Yeah.
So maybe on that map off to the side there, we should put, scenic outlook. So when people look at it, they realize, oh, the scenic outlook not even in the township. Yeah. Because that was mentioned a few times in that survey. Yeah.
You can see it.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that. It kind of put down the view on Bates Road too, which is
Mhm.
not.
Yeah. Just a thought, right? I remember hearing that last time we talked about it, so.
So just to work out the So the zoning map that you have there is different from the zoning map that is on the website. We're gonna use what's in 2015 master plan. County, where that table layer came from, had been working on something else. There's some corrections to this, or changes to the zoning map, so that was, so please don't distribute that map.
Where
Yeah.
that one goes all the way down.
Yeah, is that correct?
Odell.
This is the one you did. This is the one that came from. That's from the county. That's the one that-
So what,
I don't. Was that 2000? In the 2015. What's on the website. That's
Um,
what the township is putting out.
Is that's not different than the actual zoning map, right?
Like, which one are you talking about that we should not use? There's. like-
None of these right now, none of these go out to anybody, these are
None
just
of
for
the
our,
zoning. So, all right, because I was looking at
I
that.
mean, I guess I'm trying to figure this out myself, but there was the 2015 master plan. If you look at that document, there was a zoning map in there.
Mm.
Then if you look at what was posted online from the township, that's what the township has put out there as a zoning map on their website. So,
and that's different than the 15, or is that the same?
no, it's the same as the.
Okay.
It looks to me like it's the same.
Okay, then that, yeah, that's great.
Well, we just have to be careful with that, so we're not putting out, or having information that's not. But I know, we don't want to talk about this, but, you know,
You could. This is-
and the basic problem is the fact that they've done it.
Right.
So that's where the disconnect, normally it would be a zoning map that is connected to the ordinance. In the language of the ordinance, we don't have that, so we'll get there when we get the ordinance. Now,
So maybe there's just words below it could say, this is a zoning map that references the descriptions in the zoning ordinance. That's something like that.
that this goes back 10 years.
Yeah.
We can-
Okay,
It's a little bit.
It's very. Then there are these other maps. That we've done, it's like everyone trying to sort that out.
So should I do this one?
Okay, is look at the 2015 master plan. And on page 30 or thereabouts. Zoning.
Is that the one that's on?
Yeah.
Yes.
And this brings us to question, is the county has this, are they going by the legal description versus what we thought it was by roads on the, in our master plan? Are they, because if it's all legal, it's just a pinpoint on a map, and they can, they have GPS, like they just, do that. I don't know. Wayne, did you know much about maps and how they do them with GPS? Yeah, okay.
they're only gonna go, the county's only gonna go by what the township updates them with, so once we get an updated map, we can send that to the county and they can update their map. Correct? I just know that I knew a little bit about mapping because when I worked 911, yes, we did a lot of that. So
So I guess the bottom.
all right, let's keep going around these tables. Already want to get this here.
This one is just a little subtle, you know, there's so many. This one's still, I just, this one's a lot easier to read because of. It's broken up, yeah.
Have to do whichever one is
Yeah.
considered the official.
All right.
I'll be honest, I've not run into that before in a community where I had confusion about what the official zoning map is. So I just wanna, yeah, so so Whitewater Township.org figure 29. That is looking. It doesn't even really match this though. So it kind of looks like this, but it really doesn't match this because it's got different type of zoning for residential up here, which I'm looking. at this map, this was the one that Leah just created from the county data. This is the one that was from before. That if you look at the two, one of the things that I'm seeing that's kind of different, if you look around Williamsburg area, there's some land in here on this map that's showing it's zoned like C1, for example. Online, on your website, whitewatertownship.org, it's showing that same parcel of land right here as being zoned R3, and on this, it's also showing up as R3. So there's like a mismatch going on between what these districts are from here. And I'm only looking at a couple of parcels when I compare that.
Well, let's not confuse everything, but we're just gonna go with the map that's on the website. That's the official map we've been using for the past, how many years? And that's the map we're gonna use. Does that sound good? Just to avert any confusion? Okay.
It's, we just have to, the best plan
Yeah.
possible, and then that's why we're developing a new master plan.
That's why.
Yes.
Can you ask Bob what one he actually uses? And then actually use that one?
I had a conversation with him about this, and that's the map that he uses.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Answers that.
Yeah.
that's that. As far as I'm concerned, no, we get into the weeds of all this other stuff.
So I'll tell you right now, that map, I don't have a GIS version. The official one on your website, so I can't, I mean, I can try to make something.
Randy will try to get you something.
But
Just use that map and blow it up, and that way there's no question about
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I can use this map and try to blow it up, but make it pixelated and look real funny, because it's not a high res. So I just want you to be aware of that. It's not gonna look as crisp and clean.
That's okay, because that's what we're trying to improve.
Okay.
Right? That's why we're doing all this.
Okay. All right, we'll use that.
Okay, so for zoning and land, and so you guys are gonna take that, you're gonna take that one.
Yep,
You're gonna use the sticky dot system, with red, yellow, green. Gonna have multiple maps, with air photo zoning map and a zoomed in zoning map, the best quality that you can get with what we have.
yes.
Okay, did I sum that up?
This was also the station where we wanted to do the definition of agricultural and rural character. So I'm just gonna put up photos of different, what we think that means. I made 4 or 6 photos. I haven't decided yet. But it'll just be photos, and people can literally do it, the same thing with sticky dot right underneath it and say, I think that's what agricultural rural character means. And we're just trying to get a better handle on what that is, because we people have different ideas about it. So that was that message. The only other question that came up at that station we talked about last time was alternative energy and where solar panels would go. I can do something like that too. We could, in fact, I was planning on just having like an air photo hanging there just for reference. Really, there's no interaction with it, but just so people can see, like, oh, that's my farm, whatever. If you wanted to, what I could do is pose that question there about, if you were to put a solar farm, and we'll put a picture maybe of M72 over at Elmwood and kind of say, this is kind of what a solar farm looks like. Where would you think something like that is appropriate for? Alternatively, where would you not like to see it go? We can use green and red dots for green for here, red for definitely not here. Stick them up there if we wanted to ask that question. That was just something else that came up to talk about. This is the solar energy thing.
I don't want to get in the weeds with this, but would consumers power or some a power company have any data on like where the best places to put solar energy would be? And do they have anything for that for like Whitewater Township? Because this really could be mute if they've already looked at Whitewater Township and there's just no spots in there that.
Well, I like the question that was posed by the gentleman, I forgot his name, I'm sorry, it was here before, that said, where would you not want it to go? And maybe just focus on that.
Okay.
And say, just don't put it here. And then later we can come back and, you know, because that type of data, it's not something we would have access to. And unfortunately, I don't have access to utilities GIS data for your township, so I can't map it or show where existing utilities or anything are at. So that was something else we were gonna look at. But I think maybe just sticking to the where do you not want to see this?
Okay.
And just steer clear of these areas.
All right. To the development table.
All right, so at the development table, this was where we were gonna ask questions about like the downtown for one. I think we're gonna have some historic photos posted up there with some ideas. Well, there were a couple different areas. I guess I'm picking on downtown first. There's some other spots in the township too, but and then maybe some ideas showing examples, maybe from other communities, like of what a walkable downtown looks like, sidewalks, lighting, or something like that. Just to try to get some I think the idea was to get some idea of support for what you'd like to see happen down there, like visually, what was going to be going on. And again, voting on like pictures to me seemed like a little bit safer way of doing that, because I'm also trying to bear in mind we don't want to get too intermingled with personal property rights and then step in on anybody's toes with that. I think that was also something that was brought up. So I don't want to point out specific people's properties necessarily, other than to just kind of, here's examples in other downtown. What do you like about what you're seeing here that you would like to see happen here? That was the idea.
So here's the basic problem, that the township has zoning in place for these areas. So if there's redevelopment occurring, is that consistent with what people want to see? You already tell them how big lots.
Right.
Tell them building sizes, you already tell them all that stuff. Does that match what you want to see? You know, it's not so much forcing somebody to redevelop their property, it's just if they choose to redevelop it, what those zoning ordinance call for, and does that relate to? It's simple in some respects.
Yeah, I don't know.
That the ordinance,
And really, do we even know, is there a, do we know, does people in the township want to have a downtown area? I mean, do we have data that suggests yes or no on that? Other than our surveys?
I think that just survey, kind of,
So maybe, same thing here then, have just a yes or no question, something that, I know it's general, but it's like, I don't know how else you would ask it, you know? Are we looking to put a downtown area in Whitewater Township? And if we are, where?
Along with that, this might be really a very basic lack of understanding on my part, but does the master plan influence the update of the zoning ordinance?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, just for background, just, we are doing the zoning update, but it is largely cleaning up what is already required. There's issues like the map, there's issues like the amendments, it's we're straightening out, trying to straighten out what exists right now. The master plan will likely call for a number of zoning amendments that would be taken up separately then. So it's, you implement the master plan through future zoning change.
So it's completely appropriate then to talk about whether people want that.
What do they want? Yeah, you already require that. You already do it. Does that make sense?
Just a quick note, so 9/20, PC is gonna meet again. To vote on the to approve the meeting date. So we'll have that before the 28th.
Have to picture along the downtown with 72 running through.
Yeah, well, I'm just, things that are going down.
Right. Right.
A part of this is where we have commercial. So on the map, are you gonna put where the commercial zone is, so we could have the possibility of high density? Or do you wanna leave that off the map and just say where you want high density housing if you were something else?
Well, I hadn't considered really putting it on a map for this one only because, it seemed like it was sort of a designated an area along the old 72, but, which might be more appropriate for. I guess posing the question doesn't hurt to ask, do you want to district first? And if somebody does, the idea was to put some of those example photos in, so that like if we get a bunch of people saying they pick a photo that shows like building up, push up, zero lot line limit right along the sidewalk, that's walkable front entryway, and then your zoning code says you can't do that. Well, right there, and your zoning code is changed. People say that's what they want. That area not congruent with what they want. And so I wanted to give them a couple of examples of what the downtown could look like. And this is where some general comments may come in, where they may say, so what was it about that like that you picked out of it? The reason I give the photo examples is I find it's often land use and zoning is just not something everybody thinks about every day. I mean, they're going through their day-to-day life, going to their jobs, taking care of their kids, their parents, whatever. Like they don't always focus on this stuff. And they don't think about it. They may not even know what they like about something. They just know they like it. So they may not be able to verbalize it necessarily, but by at least give them some kind of example of something like that. Kind of at least go, yeah. And that gives us at least a gauge. And then as the planners and the technocrats that we are, that's when we can go, well, what's in that photo? There's zero lot line buildings. They're all 2 stories. They are or more. They're walkable. We've got frontway entry. As a planner, these are things I'm looking at when I see that photo, but I totally recognize not everybody. That still they like it or not.
So I have in my notes, I have that you guys are also taking the development table.
I think I'm putting that.
Okay. Yep.
So what we were just discussing was more of the development table than the zoning table.
Yes, we moved on to development.
So, the reason this is of interest to me is that we did have someone come in, that's why I want to know the commercial zone, because someone did propose a development on 72 at one time of total front and back 600 units. So that's why I would like it to be designated where this identity housing is so. Housing along with other commercial development.
So there were kind of 3 things going on at the development table. One, you're getting to one of them. One of them was the downtown question and kind of what it would look like. The other one was we had a question: 500 new residents coming to our township. Where would we live?
Right.
So that's a residential question. What type and the development table, what I'm more worried about, I'm less worried about even though the question asks where, what I'm gonna ask it that way, what I'm really driving at is what do you want it to look like? Because sometimes you can put a nice development in and it still houses a lot of people, but it looks very rural. Kind of blends into its surrounding. Other times you can put it in and it's like, that is definitely a park. Like that just is out of place where it's at. So we want to kind of make sure that you're looking at what do people, what would they consider to be like harmonious with what's there versus what's gonna be intrusive? And they don't want to see that. So I'd be giving examples of things like, and forgive me, what is the name of this? What do they call it? Millbrook, that's kind of hidden from the road, but it's a little more dense, like that one. That'd be one example of a way to do a little higher density development. Another example of a way to do it is go out to, I'm not sure if this is still in Grand Traverse County or even all, but I know when I go down 72 out, I was gonna drive to Empire, there's all these new, big, huge buildings right now. Yeah, and those look nothing like. You know, the trees have been removed, there's these giant buildings. You know, what do you, but both serve a similar purpose. Your high density residential. So what does that look like to you in your township? What do you want?
That gets back into zoning though, right? Because do we have that big restrictions?
So everything in here gets back to zoning.
Yeah.
Everything
That's
ultimately gets back to zoning.
Right.
When I'm talking about development, I'm talking about what do you want things to look
Yeah.
when development comes in.
So will this be a photo situation again?
Yeah, this is gonna be a kind of booth where people are gonna get to vote on different photos for the most part with sticky dots. And it'd be the same thing when we talk about M72. I know you do a couple examples of some buildings along M72, kind of what people like or see. That was the third corridor, so we had downtown residential development, generally speaking, and then M72.
I was thinking, you know, if somebody asked me this question about 500 new residents, I would want to know like where the bus stops are.
Yeah, certainly there are bus stops.
Yeah. Past that, yeah.
Oh, okay. So,
You're driving to the next step that would I think that goes beyond what we're doing here. If you're gonna put this in, now we know, we're asking kind of what it's gonna look like and the character of it, which helps us define the zoning requirements
Mhm.
later down the line. You look at the zoning ordinance. Ultimately, though, those types of questions would start to come in. I don't know if we're gonna ask them, I don't think we're asking them here, not yet.
Yeah.
But I think when you do that sort of thing, you do have to think about utilities and waste disposal and bus stops and mass transit, all that kind of comes with it at some point. But for now, what is it gonna look like?
okay.
when you do it? I think
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add just a couple things for infrastructure and transportation. I think maybe in there somewhere, maybe you've already thought of this, but I'd like to see questions about police, fire, and governmental. You know, about where the township wants, where they want to see us go with that. You know, you happy with your fire? You happy with your police protection? You happy with your governmental service? I mean, do we need to expand? We need to, you know, what? Some kind of questions for that. And I thinking that would be in infrastructure and transportation. EMS, yes.
So, yeah, those infrastructure and transportation was still a little more nebulous than some of these other stations, so I'm glad you said that. I think, sorry, let me get a note.
And I think I had Tom listed for this one.
Yeah.
Correct?
So we can ask general questions like that, just. Are you happy with your EMS service, police, fire, governmental services? What do you like, what don't you like? We could really just make it that simple. We give people the
I think
chance
so.
to write on a sticky dot. I could almost have columns for these.
Mhm.
And they can go, I want to say something about the EMS service. I like this, you know, or I don't
Right.
like it, stick it up there.
Yeah, I would like to see that. That would be great.
We could do something like that. And the reason I say this one was more nebulous was because at one point, when we first started talking about this, we talked about trails, public transportation and utilities. Well, like I said, I don't have GPS information on utilities, so I can't really give you a map on that for people to use. I don't, there isn't really any public transportation other than on-demand calling, Beta, having them come in and service. So there's no stops, right, or anything like that. And when we do have trails, obviously we have maps for trails. So having a little more here in terms of, we can talk about services.
Feasibility study. Other services and also about information that we out there was done by a consulting firm. It was in August of 2022. There's still such draft. Everybody, but
It was.
Yeah, was it?
so there's information that more objective, factual kind of stuff that we talked about.
Would you like me to make a copy of that?
I would, yes,
I would
please. I'd like to see that.
Is this the, sorry, existing water system? So yeah, if there's an electronic version of that,
I can email it.
yeah, if there is, this was something I was gonna ask.
Did you print us a
about,
copy of
actually,
this?
We talked about study that was conducted for,
Website.
It was on the website. I looked for it this morning. I couldn't find it, but I downloaded it before.
I can just search real quick. And see if
You could find it.
I'm gonna search on the website and the search one is the, what was it, A2,
CA2E.
CA2E. What was it called, again?
Feasibility study.
Feasibility. I didn't put it in words.
So Tom, since you're gonna sit at this table, how does that sound for you? I
Yeah.
kind of like the way idea you got up there about having
Yeah.
columns and.
Yeah.
this table, yeah, this table might, given the information, we have to be a little easier, I think, to manage in the sense that some of it may just be informational, like we want to have some information for that study about water and sewer.
Yeah.
We can share the information, but at this point, I really don't have feedback to ask for with regard to that, other than there was a feasibility study done. Here it is. This is kind of what it would take to, if we wanted to connect with the.
But what that does is connect that directly to the land use. If you talk about creating a downtown area, or something to do, you might become. You end up density. Floor space or commercial, it's not gonna work with septic system.
So really I guess to that, if we find out some of these other stations, yeah, we support this idea of downtown, we like the kinds of development we're talking about doing on 72, the looks of it and everything. Then to your point, well, ultimately someday that means you may have to connect to the sewer system. Like if you want to create that density, if you want to accommodate more residents, those things. It's not a question to the public of asking, well, would you like to do it? Yeah, you're gonna have to.
Right.
At that point. So I think some of the other stations leading up to this have kind of been hitting on some of those land use issues. And at this point, it's kind of sharing like this is an option. But as far as asking the public a question about it necessarily, I'm not sure what
I think people's minds are usually get cost.
Right. And that was, is that in there?
There's some, I didn't do all that, but there is material in there about.
At the summary at the end of the last page, it was like $10 million. Or something.
I talked with Ron about some of these things. He indicated off the top of his head, that water and sewer was gonna be an $8 million expenditure. No tax base for that.
There's often grants and loans for those kind of projects, and you also finance them over, a long period of time, so it's a big number, but.
project like that would probably be bonded, have some bonds involved with it too. No one can. No one. Even in Traverse City, when they do big sewer projects, they're writing bonds and paying them off for 30-year periods.
The second, circle, share your thoughts on higher density development. How does it differ from what we've already?
That- Yeah, that's gonna be moved to the development section, yeah. That is what we just covered. I put a note here. I'm gonna move some of the stuff around still. Same with the M72 thoroughfare look and feel is gonna go under development. We can still ask questions about public transportation though. And I wouldn't want to get into like a recreation plan level of asking questions about trails. Other than just, you know, we have the information where the trails are. Do you use them? One thing I found when you give people a chance to ask, one of the things, and this is, I don't know if this is like a Traverse City area thing or what. People always say at the trailheads about bathrooms. Like I see that pop up a lot. I go to no house or something. I don't know if you have those here or not. Trailheads. I haven't caught.
Some of them, they won't on trail.
The state ones do. State does.
You may already have that covered. But I didn't know because I didn't go and look. I was just curious.
You don't know why that's a question?
Well, I know it comes up. It comes up a lot. It's where I was at. You know, they actually didn't have a lot of that stuff. Some of them were like, "You're in nature." That was me. So it's like, oh, you know.
Yeah. That's kind of a gender
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, some people, gender would probably look, oh,
How rough it for you?
Yeah.
Like God made trees.
The lakewide septic system question is, did that come up through the survey or?
I think that was one that we talked about in our last meeting, about whether or not the township should complete that.
And what is lakewide?
If I remember correctly, it was something, the houses along, Skinny Log Lake, right in the area we were talking about. I think it was just along the point here is where the question came up. And if I remember correctly, and forgive me if I'm wrong, it was like a wetland issue or something like that. Or, well, there's too many houses or it's too down. I don't know exactly.
What is the point that you were talking about on it? It's the last point under infrastructure, lakewide septic. I'm not familiar with the.
yeah, I believe that they're along the lake, but that there's low lying. It's low lying land, and so a septic system would be helpful.
Well, I think, yeah,
Is it Elk Mug or is it just?
Well, along the south end of Elk Lake, Miami Beach area,
Okay,
residents there have put in a septic system.
oh, for their neighborhood.
Yeah.
Oh,
So they were talking about doing that, I guess, what. That one I was a little less familiar with the details on. So.
Houses on the side of that relatively narrow road. They may be.
Is it something we want to talk about with the master plan? Or just leave this off, this.
On infrastructure.
Mine, I believe that may have come from Vicky being the realtor. I know that septic systems around lakes is a huge thing all over in northern Michigan. But Milton Township is doing one, Elk Rapids is doing one.
Septic.
And
On
well, they're
transfer.
doing
Parcel.
ordinances to make it.
you can't put it on the lakeside, you have to do it on like the roadside or something like that, or?
Yeah, septics and septic systems are a huge, topic happening all over right now, and I think that might be where that came from.
Yeah.
I just thought the question was not clear enough. So, you know, where we're talking and how does it impact everybody?
Right.
They can refine that a little bit, to talk about septic inspections instead. That is a big.
I think that in some towns, new septic system, it has to be off the ground mound, but I'm sure you see them all over. But when I landscape, it's a big, like 5-6 feet high and 15 feet or something.
That's a requirement of the county health department. It's different. Kalkaska County, same thing.
Oh,
Yeah. Kalkaska is much less strict. Grand Traverse County, much restrictive, requiring the above ground. Or not allowing above ground to be built anymore.
So in this, table, infrastructure and transportation, we're talking about sticky notes and dots. And to gather information and putting each of these items in columns, correct?
Yes.
And you're good with that, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay.
I also like the idea that with your, even though it's still sticky dots, that the organization is different. in terms of,
Yes.
like, go through, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do like
That was-
that.
Yeah, kind of the idea is just, you can get bored doing one
Right.
thing. That's over again.
And this is a question before we go to general feedback. Are you providing all this for each table then? And is there something that people at the tables are gonna have to provide? Like for us? Like if we're at a table, are you gonna bring everything that we need, or are we expected to bring stuff?
So. I'm bringing, let's go over that. The things that I'm bringing.
Okay.
Well, I compared to the second transportation.
I think so. Yep.
Okay, and then we talked about the review of the 2015 master plan already, so we're all the way around the room, we're at the general feedback spot,
Yeah.
which is kind of that last.
And I've got myself down for that one.
That one,
the primary septic system.
Yeah,
Oh,
So- I can leave that under infrastructure, the late septic one, and take it out of general feedback.
that's probably a good idea.
But the wording on that, I think, is more clear than
Yeah.
the way it was worded in the infrastructure.
I'm gonna move that one. And then I think this is where, yeah, it was kind of like, because a lot of people talked about some of these topics, like agro-tourism, zoning enforcement, which we really thought probably like blight enforcement, but a lot of people call it zoning.
What is blight enforcement?
So blight enforcement is, people leave junk scattered all around their yard.
Oh,
Or they don't keep the property up, maybe they don't, mow areas that should be mowed. I mean, it depends on the township and the area. It's a say, but
I would say that they're actually, from what I'm hearing, it's actually zoning enforcement, not blight necessarily. It's more about like short-term rentals and things like that.
so that was another one of your short-term rentals.
Yeah, right.
So township buildings were actually moving up to infrastructure. I'm gonna take that out of general.
Which one are you taking out?
Township buildings.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, but they,
we were
Yep.
gonna put that up under infrastructure. We can, ask about
Yep.
not only quality of service, but should buildings be updated? I think was.
Yes.
How old is it?
Hmm?
How old are the buildings?
well,
This one.
This one.
Well,
Yeah.
but like the fire and police.
There is no. It's sheriff.
Oh, okay.
Now, would we do the same thing here as we do in infrastructure and transportation, where we do columns for questions?
So for the general comment one, there's really. Usually I just kind of leave it a little bit more open. I don't suggest anything. All I was gonna do is hang blank spots for comments to go up.
Okay.
And you're standing at that station. That's kind of where the notepad and the sticky notepads and everything kind of come out. This is where people get to that end and they go, I didn't see anything about road construction. Well,
Right.
the reason we wanted road construction under general feedback is because even though, yes, eventually based on the zoning, it could definitely will impact traffic and things like that. It could cause road construction. I think what people are really talking about with your survey when we looked at it, maintenance, ongoing maintenance. Well, those are important things, but it's not necessarily a zoning related kind of thing, which is the theme we stuck with throughout all these other topics. So they can still talk about it if they want, you know, what roads need more maintenance. We can capture that, put it in master plan. Because one of the elements of your master plan is one of these maps you have, is your road classification system, which kind of determines how roads get funding. What based on its classification, it might not be state active one funding, but county. That can be a mixed bag. How Michigan does road funding? Because it's so complicated.
So you're saying you'll just have blank papers that will either say like each title and they can just put a stucky note up with whatever they want to say on there?
I
Or?
wasn't even gonna do that, because I don't want to bring up the suggestion. If someone wants to come to you and talk about like zoning enforcement, they can. I'm not gonna write it down on the board. For them to come by. We already know from the survey, people have taken an interest in that topic. This is the general feedback is just kind of a catch-all where somebody gets to the end and goes, well, I didn't get to talk about short-term rentals.
Well, I think things like that should be listed because we know that's an issue. We don't want them to think that we haven't thought of it. You know, I think that anything that we put in general that's a hot topic should at least be listed.
I can do that if you'd like me to.
You guys agree with that? Disagree? Your thoughts?
I wouldn't want the top or the responses though to be limited by posters or.
Right.
that we live.
No, and they're not, but I'm just saying for the topics that we know are gonna be, that are issues. I don't want it to look like that we never thought about it.
Not even under road construction, have posters there and explain. The county is responsible for these roads in our township. All the rest are responsible for the township.
And I don't know, thought is too, is that like, just put roads up there and let people write whatever they want. And then in the survey response, we can explain all that.
Or the other option is that the township newsletter comes out 3 times a year. And in one of those editions, they talk about roads and who takes care of what and who takes care of improvement. The cost.
Is that we,
There's ways to get feedback to the kids. They're coming to this and you're hoping that they're asking questions, but are they going to walk away with any answers? That's, you know, but that's kind of where this is the process we're going through. And if we put it on the website or in a report, a lot of people won't read it and then they'll end up with the same question that we walked in the door with a year ago.
Mhm.
So.
I think it's just giving them the feeling that they're able to walk in here and put any of their concerns down. Is it something we're gonna be able to fix? Maybe not. But at least they were able to put it up there feel like that, you know, we're listening. And then, you know, we can explain later why maybe that will not happen in a master plan or whatever. Make sense or no? I see agreement singing over there.
What's that?
I see agreement is singing over
No,
there.
I just, I think, you know, obviously people are concerned about short-term memory. It's of, you know, the mechanism. The roads are beautiful.
Seen a lot of the comments though were like in the roundabouts, like the traffic stop on the way, on this road right here, you know? Is that stuff that in a master plan we can pursue or push? I mean, I hear other townships. I'm not designing them, but more or less saying that we do support, you know, more roundabouts or more. I don't know how to word that, but you know, at least it does give the people feeling that we heard them, you know, and
You could, maybe have them put up there and say, you know, the focus groups are the next session, and you can come with your ideas and solutions, and we look forward to hearing them.
and I think we're talking about just sticky notes too, so it's not like they can
Yeah.
write a huge dissertation.
I don't think it'd be able to do the knowledge in short-term memory. But not really trying to, you know, just like we didn't think, we obviously know it's an issue, but.
Right. Right.
I think we should include there that what the township put out there in the newsletter last year. Officially, the township position is no. And the short-term
Mhm.
are not allowed. So that's not gonna be-
They're not committed.
They're not. really- That's what the newsletter said. Okay. So you don't-
I believe the board voted, for them to speak to enforce
Mhm.
short-term rentals, which kind of an odd thing since it's already not allowed. But they have to.
Yeah.
You talked, you know, some of the things on the feedback table could be, information sheets, like who takes care of the, you know, who pays for the roads and who takes care of them. One sheet, short-term rentals, you know, what the county, the township position is, and all that, if they want to pick them up and read them. Or a writing table, I don't know, but it's just so that there is something that they can look at later and review if they come back and go, oh, yeah, that's what it is. Because the people are coming, but they don't know what they don't know. And they have the questions, but some of them are easily answered. As to what is, but I think, you know, the feedback is, you know, what do you think about it, or what do you want to do about it? I'm looking at the feedback table, maybe a science sheet or focus group too. You know, I would like to talk about this thing more and have them have.
My thought on the, like any information, how I want to word this. Like the whole object of this is to get information from everybody, right? And I don't think we should be schooling anybody on. Schooling maybe is not the right word, but leading them or telling them, you know, just take, for instance, roads, you know, well, we don't have anything to do with the roads. It's like, we just want your feedback. Give us your feedback. We want you leaving here like you left everything on the table, and we can sort all that stuff out later. And then maybe in our, you know, more in the next meeting, we could explain stuff like that. You know,
You're gonna get a lot of, I mean, that's kind of the idea of the general feedback spot. That's the importance of that station. I always want to have something like that. Mostly because people want to feel heard. And even if we know, well, there's not much we can do to fix this road or whatever, because we funding, or that's not how that funding mechanism works. You're right, that's not what people want to hear.
Right.
They just want to say, I've said my piece. I don't like the condition of this road I live on or whatever it is, or short-term rentals, whatever the topic is. We've collected that. We can include that with the feedback from the master plan and those are, like Randy was saying, those are bigger issues. If you look at a master plan from a big city, sometimes they'll have a whole section about transportation networks and all this other stuff. But what you usually won't see are the specifics behind road funding mechanisms down to the point where they show like how everything's going to get funding for the upcoming years. In fact, that typically goes through like a regional council of government or something like that. You've got a transportation planner that works in that arena. It's a whole beast. How to put that stuff together and prioritize funding projects. So, but I think the point is people want to be heard.
So just my thought is let's not muddy the waters. Let's just make this simple. We want to get what their thoughts are, and then we'll gather all that together. And then in their next one, we can explain it better. That way, if they do push you and say, why aren't you doing anything about this? Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, we got 15 minutes. So,
So we're just leaving this as the general poster, and other thoughts and concerns that have been covered or something like that.
Do you want the items listed on there?
I do want the important ones listed, just so that
The ones people know.
right.
Section other, your other concerns, and then they put a sticky note or something.
That's a good idea.
What else?
Yeah, what else?
What else?
Yeah.
That's a better way of saying it.
I like that a lot.
For the best. That's more of a.
Yeah, I don't know if we should be asking them for that here.
Yeah, just like it.
Yeah, they're just looking for their input.
Well, I think if they want to talk about it, they can.
Yeah.
We're not gonna get ahead of it.
Right.
So there were questions about, who's bringing what. Real quick, just to go through a quick timeline here, because we're getting down to the crunch time. My plan is to have posters, the layouts for the posters done by next Thursday, which is the 21st. It's gonna take me a few days to work on them. These were the things I hear you were trying to, you want it edited in this memo or something that you were gonna look at. Like,
Yeah.
something you want to send back to me before I get posters put together, or? I don't
No,
know.
because what I'm putting together is just for the board, just for the PC and them,
Oh.
just to kind of keep them updated, because in the last meeting, I think things got a little confused and stuff that we had already done, they thought that we hadn't done yet. And so I'm gonna try to pull something together here just as a kind of time like this is, what we have completed, and this is how we're gonna follow through on that. But
I think the motion was the planning commission approved what was in their concept.
yes. Right. Well, just the township board meeting themselves. That information didn't get passed along to them very well, so we're just gonna do a bullet point form kind of thing that explains to it.
And on general feedback table, Vicky Dean volunteered to be put at any table, so if you need someone there, she could do feedback.
Yes, sure. I think that anybody here that wants to sit at a table, one of the other tables, we need extras, so just pick whatever interests you and join up. And
Yeah, and I know, just being realistic, because there's gonna be questions throughout this thing. You might come to me at a certain point, or Randy, and say, hey, come over and help me real quick. So if we have someone that can briefly
Floater.
cover for a minute or two, and kind of cover a station, if I get pulled away somewhere else to help answer your question, that's always good to have that person.
are you available that day? Could you do that? Okay, so you'd be the floater. I like it.
And if you're not floating, it's always more hands is welcome. Something
Right.
so, okay, so I want to have my part with some of this, the print stuff kind of done by the 21st. It doesn't give you much time to preview it, only because I want to get things to the printer sooner the better, but no later than like that Monday, the 25th. Just in case they're backed up or something and they take an extra day to get everything done. Usually they turn it around for me in a day, but I want to throw a little cushion in just in case.
If you could send, Randy or all of us, or Randy could send it to all of us, sometime just before that, maybe just this kind of outlook of what you're gonna have prepared for each station.
That's what I want to get done for you by the 21st. If I
Okay.
can get it done a day sooner, I will.
Okay, that's fine.
Looking at next week and it's,
Yeah.
it'll be a bit of a stretch, but I'll try to get it to you as soon as I can, just so you can see what the posters are gonna look like.
And if you can get any of that to me before the 20th, that's our, that's the PC meeting we're gonna have to vote for the November date. And if I could give them any of that, that'd be great.
I'll get as much
Understand,
done as I
just-
can.
yep,
It
Understand,
may not be a complete packet, but.
and I can tell them.
And I just want to double check, see, if November 7th work for you, we never, I mean, for the second, okay. Before we go on, and you volunteer, so.
What did you say about the planning commission?
9:20, we're having a special meeting, won't be long, and it's just gonna be basically to vote on November 7th. And then I'd kind of like to give them an update of what we got going on here.
Like I said, deadline for me is the 25th printer. So I'm gonna have the posters, I'll make a sign-in sheet, and then also instructions for each station. I'm gonna have those things, I'll bring them with me. I need from you the master plans printed out, the 15-1 and the revised draft. The township will provide at least one copy of each of those. Okay, and then set those out on the table. And then I'm gonna provide sticky dots, as well as, I can provide other, like, we need writing utensils or anything. I've got a bunch of little golf pencils and things we can stick out.
So sticky dots and sticky notes you're bringing?
Yep, sticky
Okay.
notes. I got tons of those. The Post-its. I got different color ones too, so they're interesting to try to call for. And of course, I'll bring like tape and things to hang stuff up. Now, my hope was for each of the stations where people are going to be touching or putting dots on. They've got a lot of those tables, and they fold up, and they're pretty. When they fold up,
Oh, yeah.
and they're pretty sturdy, even when they're folded.
Yes.
My hope was to use those around the room, folded up, and we just tape.
That's a great
Right
idea.
on. That way, when
Yeah.
someone hits it with a sticky dot, they're a little aggressive.
In
They're not
fact,
gonna move that tape. But if I have it on an easel, they're gonna knock the easel.
That's a
So
great idea.
I'll bring easels for things people aren't touching. I've got
Mhm.
tons of easels I can bring, but I think those tables, just leaving them folded up and upright would be better for that kind of stuff.
That's the folded cafeteria table.
Yeah, that's a folded cafeteria table.
So we would need 5 of those, right?
At least 5 of them, yep. The land use one might be 2, so maybe 6,
Okay,
'cause that's
maybe
got
6.
more touching.
Gotcha.
Can I make, and so that we, have it just to say here.
Yeah,
The
that's,
maps are pretty big.
yeah, if we had 10, that's.
Okay.
And so, you had 10 folded, and then you're going to want, 6, 7. Other tables open. For the.
Either round or maybe,
Well, for this thing, no. this.
Oh,
details clear back on this, on your.
No, so the only table we're gonna have is a big one in the middle. People can sit right at. These are gonna be the folded up tables that we're gonna stick maps on.
Okay.
All around the room.
Okay.
We put easels with them with all the maps and interactive sticky dot stuff, and pictures. This is the only writing table.
maybe the welcome table should be
Oh,
too.
sorry, welcome, well, you
Yeah.
can use it for a writing table. These two are actual tables.
The only
that are in
tables, okay.
The other one, they're still tables, they're just gonna be folded up. So that, and if they wanna leave their lunch tables in there, we can just use as many as we need and just push the other ones against the wall behind them, so they're out of the way. When they're folded up, they're not that big, from what I saw. They don't take up a lot of floor space, no more than.
So maybe it'll be a janitor there.
Okay,
Request them to use it as you like. You would put it on. That,
more pictures the better. Yep.
just random, nothing. Things.
You said that, yeah, definitely want photos of it. You always end up using this master plan when you're describing the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, this looks pretty good. Does anybody have any concerns with what we heard so far? No.
I was just going to get the photos, but people have worked out the yet.
Oh, yeah, if you're gonna use them, you have to.
I hadn't planned on it. Some of these I printed off just because they were available in the master plan to show you what there was. I hadn't planned on using the tribal land one. I mean, we want to print one to just hang it up. We can. I don't have questions to ask people about it, but. And if you want to hang on, I don't.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, Gary, did you have anything you wanted to add to this?
I'm good.
All right, thanks for being on. Is there anything else that we needed to accomplish here?
So there's no other outlets.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think we'll present everything on the 20th, again, just for general knowledge, because we didn't change anything other than the date. We get approval for the date. And
Just if volunteers can get there 15 to 20 minutes early, on
Okay.
28th, that I can walk through everything.
I get, flyers printed out.
And we want to hear the judge.
You had sent an email out talking about flyers printed for the kids at the school. Has the process been implemented to send those home?
That's, they just got that, they're up there in an envelope, waiting for her to pick them to take. I think she's
Okay.
planning on doing that Wednesday
All right,
or the next
I
one.
have a plan to distribute flyers to businesses. Like
You
I
need copies?
suggested, put them on a card.
You need copies of it?
Yeah.
I've got, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. One.
Okay.
If you have the sign, so. I had to put those up.
Yeah.
And we'll try to help you with that.
okay, there's no public for public comment. Oh, sorry, yes.
Two things. The the PC requested quite some time ago, and this is just so that y'all can think to tell them, because I probably won't remember to do it in a public comment there with them. That the PC had a standing item for the board as an agenda item, planning commission. Just like they have implemented a standing item on the board agenda for park. Although I believe PC made the request first, park is always there. Just for some of the simple things that need to be addressed, and maybe so that planning commission stuff doesn't have to be new business number 12 or 13 when the information is all there that's been asked for. Anyways, that's you all. And then the other thing is these things that you can't really sorry about that, the master plan or zoning isn't really related to is maybe present concerns from the workshops and surveys in a separate type format to the board, knowing that it's not master plan roads, maintenance of the roads and stuff. It's not master plan and it's not zoning, but that way people know that they were heard and it's being presented to the powers that be.
That's a good idea.
We did something.
Yes, and you know, it may be 5 things, it may be 10 things. But, you know, anyways, yeah, you get it. That's all. Sharon.
Is there value, do you think, for having us at each station identified as you're a planning commission, ROS member, Keith? And Randy, you're the planner. Is there a way of getting?
Would it be, would it be,
Simple, like, hello, my name is. That's right. I got.
maybe we could just sticky notes for our name, but maybe at the welcome table, we could have each table and then who's at the table and what their position is, so that they just have a sheet that they can carry with them. They know who everybody is, rather than trying to put that all down on a. Make sense or no?
Or just your name in Whitewater Township. Meaning
Okay.
My name.
Just your name tag.
Okay, that's fine.
I can.
Name tags.
Yeah.
Okay, so just, I'm sorry, did you have anything else?
No.
Didn't want to interrupt you there. So just to clarify, is there anything that the people that are standing at the tables need to bring besides themselves and be there at least 15 minutes early? Okay, otherwise you're going to provide everything else. Good. Good attitude, yes. Okay, is there anything else before we adjourn? Thank you very much. Meeting's adjourned.
Yeah, if you.
We had one person on Zoom and it was Gary.